So he came again to Cana in Galilee, where he had made the water wine, and at Capernaum there was a royal whose son was ill. When he heard that Jesus had come from Judea to Galilee, he went and begged him to come down and heal his son, for he was at the point of death. Therefore Jesus said to him, "Unless you people see signs and wonders, you will not believe." The royal said to him, "Sir, come down before my little boy dies." Jesus said to him, "Go, your son is living." The man believed what Jesus spoke to him and went his way. As he was going down, his slaves met him and told him that his boy was living. So he asked them the hour when he began to recover, and they said to him, "Yesterday at the 7th hour, the fever left him." The father knew that that was the hour when Jesus had said to him, "Your son is living," and he himself believed, along with his whole household. This was now the second sign that Jesus did after coming from Judea to Galilee. This account may be another variant of the healing story that you find in the Synoptic Gospels, Matthew and Luke. You find a very similar story in Matthew chapter 8, verse 5 through 13, and Luke chapter 7, verses 1 through 10. So let's take a moment to explore the story in those forms, the Matthean form and the Lucan form, and we'll make a little comparison and contrast. Is that cool? Matthew, I want you to pay attention, very careful attention to the details. I want you to see the similarities and I want you to see the differences. Matthew chapter 8, verses 5 to 13. When Jesus entered Capernaum, a centurion approached him and appealed to him, saying, "Lord, my servant is lying at home paralyzed, suffering dreadfully." He said to him, "I will come and heal him." The centurion said in reply, "Lord, I am not worthy to have you enter under my roof. Only say the word, and my slave shall be healed." Does that sound familiar, Catholics?
Yes.
"For I too am a person subject to authority, with soldiers subject to me. And I say to one, 'Go,' and he goes. And to another, 'Come here,' and he comes. And to my slave, 'Do this,' and he does it." When Jesus heard this, he was amazed and said to those following him, "Amen, I say to you, among no one else have I found such faith in Israel. I say to you, many will come from the east and the west and will recline with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob at the banquet in the kingdom of Skyvault. But the children of the kingdom will be driven out into the outer darkness, where there will be wailing and grinding of teeth." And Jesus said to the centurion, "You may go. As you have believed, let it be done for you." And at that very hour, the servant was healed.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You always talk that Matthew is a very religious group, right? And they're very, like, Judean oriented.
No, they're very ethnocentric, right? That's the word, right?
So bringing up a centurion, isn't that a funny way? Isn't that something interesting? Like they would use that as an example?
Sure it is. Let's see if we can explore that.
Okay.
So Mario brings up a very good point. Wait a minute, Bill. Here he is healing the most Gentile of Gentile dogs. He's healing a Roman centurion, right? Everybody see that? That's what we read, right? No, that's what you read into the text. Matthew does not indicate whether the centurion was a Judean or a non-Israelite. That's right. There were Judean centurions that were employed by Rome. Surprised, Jesus acknowledges that the centurion's display of loyalty, faith, to the God of Israel is amazing. Amen, I say to you, listen to the language, among no one else have I found such faith in Israel. The New Revised Standard Version and, oh yes, our New American Bible Revised Edition are simply dead wrong with their rendering of the Greek into, quote, in no one in Israel, end quote, giving the impression that this centurion was not an Israelite. Traditore. All translators are traitors. You have an agenda, you don't even know it. And you read that right into as you're translating. Oh, he's a non-Israelite. No, doesn't say that. Doesn't say that. Let's look at the Lucan version. How does that sound? Luke chapter 7, verses 1 to 10. That's the greatest thing about problems, Marco. The greatest solution to problems is to find out, oh my God, there's no problem. There is no problem. When Jesus had finished all his words to the people, he entered Capernaum. A centurion there had a slave who was ill and about to die. And he was valuable to him. When he heard about Jesus, when the centurion heard about Jesus, he sent elders of the Judeans to him, asking him to come and save the life of his slave. They, the elders of the Judeans, approached Jesus and strongly urged him to come, saying, look, the centurion deserves to have you do this for him, for he loves our nation and he built the synagogue for us. He's a collaborator, but he loves Israel. And Jesus went with them. But when he was only a short distance from the house, the centurion sent friends to tell him, Lord, don't trouble yourself, for I am not worthy to have you enter under my roof. Therefore, I did not consider myself worthy to come to you. He never meets Jesus. He sends intermediaries. But say the word and let my servant be healed, for I too am a person subject to authority, with soldiers subject to me. And I say to one, go, and he goes. And to another, come here, and he comes. And to my slave, do this, and he does it. When Jesus heard this, he was amazed at him, and turning, said to the crowd following him, I tell you, not even in Israel have I found such faith. When the messengers returned to the house, they found the slave in good health. Let's note a few things about Luke's version. Luke, or his tradition that he's drawing from, does not specify whether the centurion in question was an Israelite or a non-Israelite. Be careful with the assumptions. You know what they say about assume? There were, in fact, Israelites who served in the Roman army in various ranks. Look here, an inscription from Jaffa reads, Thanum, son of Simon, grandson of Benjamin, the centenarius, the centurion from Parambole, Shalom. That's from the 2nd century. We had Judean centurions. The fact that he built a synagogue with no mention of a temple in the region would suggest an Israelite lineage, wouldn't it? If given what we know about Mediterranean people. So this guy is a patron to his fellow Israelites. He's saying, look, I'm not so bad. Yeah, I'm in cahoots with Rome, but I'm okay. I'm using it to help people. Looking at this common story to both Matthew and Luke, there are some major agreements. In both stories, in both its Matthean and Lucan forms, the story has a centurion requesting a favor of Jesus. Both variants of the story take place in Capernaum. In both variants of the story, Jesus readily agrees to come and heal the son. In both variants of the story, the centurion considers himself Jesus' social inferior. In both variants of the story, the servant is healed without Jesus ever entering the home. In both variants, the centurion says basically the same thing, and Jesus' praise of the centurion is also similar in both accounts. Right? We agree? But I got to tell you, there's some glaring differences in the version we've read in Matthew and the version we've read in Luke. And if you were paying attention, you would see it. These are glaring differences. They're so important for Catholics to read and understand. Catholics who like to think that what you read in the Gospels are modern, historiographical, scientifically precise. I'm going to use that language. Scientifically precise, scientifically researched details. This is the language of fundamentalism, including when you hear it from Catholics. Disagreements. In Matthew, the centurion himself comes to Jesus, right? He meets him personally. But in Luke, the centurion never himself meets Jesus. He sends elders and then he sends friends as intermediaries, go-betweens. In the Matthean version, the servant is paralyzed and suffering terrible pain. Does it say he's going to die? No. In the Lucan rendering, the servant is on the verge of death. Would you say that's a big difference?
Yeah.
According to Luke, the centurion is a powerful patron to the people of Capernaum. He built the town synagogue. Does Matthew mention that? No. Why would Matthew leave that out? Why would you leave such a detail out if you knew it? Assuming that the story found in John chapter 4, verses 46 to 54, is yet another variant of the same tradition found in Matthew chapter 8, verses 5 to 13, and Luke chapter 7, verses 1 to 10, well, we encounter once more, some major glaring differences. While the story also takes place in Galilee, the Johannine Jesus is in Cana, not Capernaum. The request for the healing comes from a guy from Capernaum who comes to Cana to find Jesus for him to heal the sick person in Capernaum. In John, the person requesting the favor is not a centurion, but a basilikos, which means a royal. That's what it properly translates to. Royal. Not royal official, as we'll see later. Royal. And he comes to Jesus in Cana from Capernaum. In Matthew and Luke, the sick person is a slave of the centurion, right? But in John, it is the royal's young boy, his son. Do you think that that's a major difference?
Yes.
Whereas in Matthew and Luke, Jesus readily agrees to come to the centurion's home. I'll go, I'll heal him. Is that how it is in John? No, in John, he initially rebukes the man. Unless you people see signs and wonders, you do not believe. That's just like, what else did I hear that in Gospel of John? When the mother of Jesus came, they have no wine. Woman, what does this have to do with you or me? My hour has not yet come. And then she perseveres. And then what does he do? He grants the request. That's not how it is in the Synoptics.
But isn't it,
In the Synoptics, oh, sure, I'm coming right now.
would it be
That's very different. Extremely different. Hey, thanks for watching. Just continue the playlist for the next part of the study. If you have further questions, this is good. They will get addressed, so keep watching. If you found value, please subscribe, like, and share. As always, questions, comments, and criticisms are most welcome. God bless you.